In the 90s, all the way through to the mid-2000s, Mortal Kombat was everywhere. And I mean everywhere. It had cameos and mentions on TV shows, references in movies, and, most prominently, was seen in all sorts of video games, even ones that weren't Mortal Kombat, or even fighting games, for that matter. Now, although the many appearances of Mortal Kombat in other video games of this era is something I want to cover at length in a future video, this one in particular focuses on one single game that took Mortal Kombat and essentially put on a full collaboration. There's guest characters in games, and there's what this game did. Unreal Championship 2, The Liandry Conflict, was an arena FPS developed by Epic Games in 2005. It was published by Midway Games, so you can already see where the connection comes from. Note that this game was an exclusive to the original Xbox console, and if you want to play it these days, the easiest way is to grab it on the Xbox Store, as it is backwards compatible. My footage was captured on an Xbox Series X. This game introduced some new additions from its previous titles, a melee combat system, and finishing moves that you could perform mid-match. It's almost like the sheer existence of an MK character had quite the lasting impact on the game's new mechanics. Join me, and together we'll see what happened when Mortal Kombat invaded Unreal Championship. So, Unreal Championship, being an arena FPS, means that the combat is a heavy focus of the game, right? But so is things like item management, pickups, power-ups, and more. It's always been a genre I've adored very much since a young age, and why I still play games like Quake Champions on the regular to this day. This game, though, blended third-person and first-person vision, which meant that when you're in melee mode, you had to be third-person, but with one of the game's many over-the-top weapons, you could choose either first-person or third-person. I usually prefer first-person in my FPS, but the extra information of third-person vision is nice, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't played an FPS on console in so long that first-person with a pad just doesn't work for me. But you do you, of course. So why do I mention all of this now, and when am I going to get to Mortal Kombat? Well, you can also choose different characters, and they have their own adrenaline powers. This actually meant that different characters had different levels of stack, mobility, and a variety of what is essentially special moves that they can use to gain tactical advantages. You see where I'm going with this? A bunch of characters are locked out to you straight away, as about half of them need to be unlocked by playing the game and doing all of the different modes. What we want to do is beat all 15 of the game's challenge modes, because you see that suspiciously Elder God looking silhouette right there? The game tells us that we need to beat the challenges to get them. That is what I did, although, I will be completely honest, I had never played this game before, and there was no way I was going to struggle through the challenges if I didn't even know what I was doing at first. So, thanks to it being a mid-2000s game, I unlocked the in-game cheat menu, and absolutely cheated my way through them just to get to the final challenge. And yes, if you hadn't already figured it out, Raiden is in fact the guest character from Mortal Kombat added to Unreal Championship 2. The final challenge involves a 2 versus 1 that you have to conquer, and I did make sure to at least beat this one legit so I could learn Raiden's moves. Here's what we're working with. Melee combat sees Raiden fight with his staff. This does actually make sense, as in the 3D era of Mortal Kombat during the exact same time frame, Raiden's weapon was a staff for long range. You can do different kinds of melee attacks with it. His air charge, which is universal to everybody in this game, grants him fantastic mobility, but additionally to that, Raiden can actually do his Superman dive, which is just a great addition. He uses all of the same weapons that everybody else can equip. In Unreal Championship 2, it is ammo that exists on the map, as you have to equip a 2-weapon loadout before entering the arena. But additionally to his more general adrenaline powers, which is a heal, agility increase, and a speed up, he has his own unique attacks. The first is a stun trap. a large obstacle that you can create that on hit will stun an opponent for free damage. During this stun state, Raiden can execute his finishing move, of which the game tells you to finish him, and you have to do a button sequence to pull off each move. This sequence will change every time. Secondly is teleport. It just totally redirects you to somewhere else in the arena, which, although is very expensive on your adrenaline gauge, it's a get out of jail free card if you're about to be fragged and you just have to get out of there. When you're playing Raiden in this game, it's actually unbelievable just how accurate the Epic team managed to get this character, considering that we've just put a fighting game character in an FPS, right? I know we get all kinds of crossovers these days with stuff like, I don't know, Ryu and Chun-Li and Fortnite, which is a more recent one, but that's mostly just a skin swap. This was a full-on, okay, we have Raiden in our game, how can we make him feel like Raiden even though this couldn't be a more different genre? And with that in mind, I gotta give props to the team for making this so good. I was really impressed as a lifelong nerd of both Mortal Kombat and Arena FPS. Now, Raiden was voiced by Chase Ashbaker, who at the time had worked with audio for a fair few other games, credited online in titles like PsyOps: The Mindgate Conspiracy, various 3D Mortal Kombat titles, Blitz the League, and NBA Ballers. So the character still sounds like you'd expect from the mid-2000s anyway. The actual voice lines that Raiden has is rather expansive, and is full of references, and lore, and other characters. This was a very mid-match dialogue-heavy game, as characters can taunt, make callouts, all that good stuff. Raiden can be heard insulting you after he frags you by saying, "You fight like Johnny Cage," which is completely out of order, but has a few movie quotes in there as well, quoting the first movie by calling you a coward who should stand and fight, but when he gets fragged, has a very small chance of saying, "I am proud to die," which is clearly taken out of his death scene in MK Annihilation. A strange reference to a terrible movie, but hey, Easter eggs! The final note on audio is that in the in-game options menu, you can actually change the announcer to be the Mortal Kombat announcer of the 3D age, who at the time, remember, was the current announcer. The Midway publishing deal clearly opened up a lot of doors for this collaboration, and it shows. The MK fan in me was having a great time, honestly.
Raptor, Salor, Arclight, Anubis, Sobek, Sapphire, Lauren, Raiden.
Oh yeah, and of course, when I unlocked Raiden, I had to do a deathmatch with everybody on Raiden, and it was as chaotic as I thought it would be. Felt weird running around with a flat cannon, but here we are! Being able to revisit an old title with such a significant collaboration with Mortal Kombat, let alone combining my two favorite genres in fighting games and Arena FPS, was something I could not pass up. I'm surprised I didn't know about this until recently, but better late than never. Mortal Kombat has a ton of other inclusions in all sorts of games around the 90s and 2000s, like I said at the beginning. So when I said in the intro I plan on covering these crossovers in great detail, I meant it. Stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Stick around if you enjoyed it. Maybe consider joining my official Patreon, and I'll see you next time. Take care now, and goodbye.